British woodlands, home to one creature you may never have seen before. A creature that has lived here for 10,000 years. The red squirrel.
They are charismatic and curious, and they're a delight to watch.
But in the last 100 years, the arrival of another species now threatens their future.
I think it's highly likely that without human intervention, we could lose red squirrels, maybe within the next couple of decades. I think that would be an incredibly sad thing to happen.
With red squirrels facing an uncertain future, is there any hope for their survival? For several decades, scientists have been gathering information relating to the red squirrel's rapid decline.
Red squirrels are in decline essentially because of the grey squirrel, which is an introduced species from North America. Grey squirrels carry this virus, the squirrelpox virus, which causes a lethal disease in red squirrels. Now, if you have the two populations together, but they're only competing for food resource, there's a gradual decline of red squirrels. But where the squirrelpox is present, the rate of decline of red squirrels is 25 times faster. When red squirrels are infected with squirrelpox virus, they develop skin lesions all over their body. And when red squirrels contract it, they don't have any immunity. They've never been exposed to it before, and they go down with a severe disease.
When I first saw a red squirrel with the symptoms of squirrelpox virus, it was devastating, really, because I knew that that animal was going to suffer, and within a couple of weeks it would have died.
So how can squirrelpox be prevented? With grey squirrel numbers now exceeding 3 million, 150 years after only a handful were introduced. In an effort to control the grey squirrel population and prevent squirrelpox, red squirrel conservation groups have been established across the UK.
Red Squirrels Northern England operates in pockets of northern England where we have both species, red squirrels and grey squirrels, in what we would call interface areas, so those areas where both species are competing for the same resources. I think once we remove grey squirrels from a woodland, what you find is red squirrels can then recolonise and start to thrive once more. In woodlands where we find reds and grey squirrels, if we do not manage grey squirrels and remove them, it's only a matter of time before red squirrels completely disappear. The red squirrels are such an engaging, fantastic native species. I think it would be devastating for us to lose red squirrels within the next couple of decades.
But what are these conservation groups doing to save red squirrels? Over 80% of the remaining red squirrels are found in Scotland. And one organisation have seen breakthrough results from their conservation efforts in recent years.
Grey squirrels were introduced to Aberdeen somewhere between the 1950s and the 1970s, and they essentially drove the red squirrels out of Aberdeen city and out of much of Aberdeenshire. Since 2009, things have really started to change. Thanks to a strategy of targeted grey squirrel control in key areas of the city, we're now seeing much fewer grey squirrels, particularly in the parks of Aberdeen. And where we've done that, we've seen red squirrels recover remarkably quickly. We control grey squirrels using live capture traps. We use live capture traps because obviously there are red squirrels as well. We set the traps up in the parks and the woodlands around the city, and if we catch a red squirrel, we simply release it. If we catch a grey squirrel, then that squirrel is just dispatched. We do what we do because if we didn't control grey squirrels, then red squirrels would essentially disappear. It's not something we enjoy doing, and we have very strict animal welfare guidelines that are governed by UK law, but it is an absolute necessity if we want to see red squirrels here in the future.
With grey squirrels nowhere to be seen, red squirrels are now appearing in the parks and woodlands around the city for the first time in decades. And now, red squirrels are thriving even more so, as small rocks like these stop birds getting in and stealing squirrel food. Many consider this a huge success, due to the actions of the red squirrel conservation groups.
There are only two recognised methods of controlling grey squirrels. We use live capture traps, or we shoot animals in a woodland. It's not a decision we take lightly. It's something that we need to do if we are to protect red squirrels.
Trapping and shooting grey squirrels may appear wrong, but at the moment, it is the quickest and most humane way of controlling their numbers and preventing them from spreading the fatal squirrelpox disease. But what if there was an alternative solution? A way that didn't involve directly killing grey squirrels. This year, one organisation started to develop an alternative method for lowering the population of grey squirrels.
My principal job at the moment is to launch and develop and research oral contraception to control the grey squirrel in a non-lethal way. We already have the vaccine as an injectable, but obviously injecting 3 million grey squirrels is beyond our resources. So what we're doing is we're developing an oral vaccine, which is basically a paste, which actually will be able to sit in the dispenser.
Captive grey squirrels are currently being used to trial the dispenser, which has a weighted trap door.
Which the much heavier grey squirrel will be able to push against. It'll then trigger the paste being available to it, and the grey squirrel will then help itself and then leave. The much lighter red squirrel will not be able to gain access to this. Probably over a period of about 3 years, we will have actually reduced the population of grey squirrels by about 70%. The project will take about 5 years to complete. The benefits are that the public will find it much more acceptable for a non-lethal approach for the reduction of grey squirrels. And I think the success of this project will be when the public's acceptance that we just can't carry on shooting and trapping animals. This is very important for a lot of people, particularly in the United Kingdom, who are very, very animal conscious. It's really important that the oral vaccine is actually put across all the woods in the UK, and what this will do is allow our red squirrel populations to re-emerge as the principal iconic species in the UK.
With scientific advances and the efforts of conservationists, does this mean there is a future for red squirrels?
I see a very bright future for them across the rest of Scotland and perhaps even the rest of the UK in the future.
I think the future for red squirrels in the UK is bright. As long as people continue to care about red squirrels, we stand a chance of conserving them well into the future.